We'll start with, honestly, guys, it's just our opinion. Post the Rabbitohs game, everyone has definitely seen the news. Latrell Mitchell was interviewed by Triple M, and they had to dump the whole interview. He dropped the F-bomb multiple times. He said shit. He basically said he didn't care and he knew what he was doing was not allowed, but, whatever. He scored his 100th try. Now, his team had just lost, and he seemed really happy to have scored his 100th try. It's really easy to find on the internet. Anybody who hasn't watched it, just go look for Latrell Mitchell being an idiot. I think it was stupid. And a lot of ex-players and stuff are coming out and defending him and saying, it's post-game, he's emotional, and so you don't know what you're saying. But to me, that's completely lacking in reality. It's like they're not in reality if they think that, because there was 7 other games with 50 other interviews across the board, and not a single other one was dropped completely. Only Latrell Mitchell's.
Yeah, look, we all swear in day-to-day life. Let's face it. I'm not going to pretend that we don't. Everybody swears at some point or another. That's just life. But to do it in such a public arena, after a game, you're in a radio interview. You know that radio interview is going out to hundreds of thousands of people. To do it at that point, you know the microphone's on. You just do it willingly 5 times. I think he dropped the F-bomb. Mm-hmm. And then not only that, he said that he didn't care. So it's one thing to swear that amount of times in the heat of the moment, maybe forgetting, what your forum is. But to then say that you just don't care and you just do it anyway. Geez, the arrogance on him is staggering, to think that he... And you know what contributes to it? The NRL, that they've got a lot to answer for here. They continue to do nothing about his transgressions. He spoke about, he talked a lot about what penalty Spencer Leniu should have gotten over that racism remark that was made, banned for 8 weeks, Leniu. Latrell Mitchell, like all the other players, was not supposed to make comment on how long that penalty should have been. He did make comment. The NRL took no action. The NRL, again, are taking no action here. Andrew Abdo's going to go and meet with him or something. They're going to have some meeting have a meeting. Well, what is this? If you're running the game, you take action when someone behaves like this. You don't go over there and have a meeting. So the NRL, V'landys and Andrew Abdo continue to show extremely weak leadership in this area, and Latrell Mitchell exploits it. He gets away with it. So what you go, well, why wouldn't he keep doing it if the head honchos of the game take no action on it?
If you remember, in 2009, Darius Boyd gave an interview in which he didn't answer any questions. Right?
And all he did was not answer questions. He wasn't dropping F-bombs.
He got Broncos and Darius Boyd got sanctioned for it. I can't remember exactly what it was. I'm trying to find it out, but it's 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
He was a superstar of the game at the time. But he got in trouble for it. When players have expletive-loaded rants outside of the game, not on a media interview, and someone films it on their mobile phone, it gets posted all around social media, they get sanctioned for it. They get fined. When Latrell Mitchell goes on a radio and swears so much that they have to drop the whole entire interview, and again, all these people saying you don't know what it's like to be in the heat of the moment. There was 7 other games on the weekend. 7, okay? There was players interviewed. And it's not just Triple M. You can't even go, there were 7 other games, and Triple M interviewed 1 player from each game. So 15 other interviews, because there was Channel 9 interviews, 2SM interviews, ABC Radio interviews, KO Sports interviews, Fox Sports 1 interviews, like so many interviews. If you are at a game after a match, you see like 10 players with headphones and a microphone on. There is so much media. There was one interview Even if we conservatively say, okay, so there's 8 games and 3 interviews per game. 1 out of 24. That's super conservative. It would be more like, 100 interviews. One. Also, there are game interviews before the game. There are interviews during the game at halftime now, which I don't really like. But during the game at halftime, where they're coming off the field and people are interviewing them. Not a single one was dropped because of swearing in the heat of the moment, except for Latrell Mitchell's one. And if it had been someone else, they would have got in trouble, and we wouldn't actually be talking about it that much because you could believe that it was like possibly a heat of the moment thing. But the fact that Latrell Mitchell did it, and he's in the news every week, and then said, I don't care, is absolutely ridiculous. He should be fined and suspended. He fully, fined and suspended.
Yeah, as you say, if it had been Victor Radley or Matt Lodge making these comments, would Andrew Abdo be going to have a meeting with them and having a chat, or would they be taking far more serious action? I think we all know the answer to that. Just another point I wanted to make. I saw a headline on an article from Andrew Webster today, which said, before Latrell was dropping F-bombs, he was helping police solve youth violence. I'm sorry, Andrew, that's got nothing to do with what we're talking about. Him helping police solve youth violence has nothing to do with how he speaks to the media after a game of football. I'm sorry, Andrew. I know you think that Latrell Mitchell can do no wrong, because last year when he was behaving in a similar way, Andrew Webster said it wasn't his job to hold him accountable. And now, so according to Andrew Webster, Latrell Mitchell can do no wrong. Latrell Mitchell can just do whatever he wants, and Andrew Webster won't hold him accountable. Brent Reed on NRL 360 tried to defend Latrell, saying, that there could be some concerns over his mental health. Come on. He's dropped 5 F-bombs in a post-game interview, and you're pulling out the mental health card on that? Seriously, there are plenty of people who have in society who have mental health problems who don't behave like that in public view. Yeah. So don't pull the mental health card. A lot of people have those issues in life. Don't pull that card on us now. Sorry. Michael Ennis was being very glowing in his praise of Latrell in commentary, and some people on social media rightly called him out on it. It seems like people are just really scared to criticise Latrell for anything. They're scared to criticise him. And you're always hearing people say, I'm a great fan of Latrell. I'm a real fan. I'm a fan of him. You know what? I'm not doing that anymore, because I'm not a fan of Latrell anymore. I'm not a fan of a player who comes out and just drops 5 F-bombs on an interview after the game. I'm sorry. He's just not a likeable character in the game. He is not. So from now on, obviously, I'm going to continue talking about his performance, but I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to be trotting out those lines, we hope he does this, we hope he does this. No. I'm not a fan of his anymore. I'm not going to try and dress it all up and sugarcoat it and pretend to be anymore. Yeah,
it's beyond. I don't understand what he has on all of the power players in the game, that he can just do whatever he wants and nobody ever does anything. If that was any other player, there's not a single... If that was James Tedesco, one of the statesmen of the game who's never been in any trouble, and he walked out and did that, he would have got in trouble. He would have got sanctioned. The Roosters would have got in trouble. But because it's Latrell Mitchell, it's just fine. And I think the really thing that people need to really pay attention to is when you do something wrong, ignorance is no excuse. Often, ignorance is no excuse, okay? He knew what he did was wrong, and he said he didn't care. He intentionally did it and said he didn't care. And how do you not then go to him and say, you knew what you were doing was wrong. You intentionally breached the rules of the game and radio and said you didn't care. Yeah. And, we're just going to go have a meeting and sit down and find out, is there something wrong with you? It's beyond ridiculous now, the Latrell Mitchell thing. We're trying to book in a time for Mitchell Pearce to come on the podcast next week. and I'm hoping, or the week after, I'm hoping we might ask him his opinion on this kind of behaviour in the game, because I can't think of any other player in the history of the game that was allowed to just get away with things willy-nilly, no matter who they were. Darren Lockyer, who was one of the most well-respected people in the game at the time he played, tackled a bouncer outside of a nightclub and got sanctioned and in trouble for it. Jonathan Thurston, one of the most well-respected players in the game and personalities in the game, hit some police with a crutch or whatever the hell he did, got in trouble with it. Latrell Mitchell just does whatever he wants.
Yeah, and with Brent Reed on NRL 360, when they were talking about it, he said, I'm a huge fan of Latrell. And then Braithen Astor said, we're all fans of Latrell. That's irrelevant. And look, at least Braithen Astor took Brent Reed to task on it, which I thought was really good of an Astor. I agree with a lot of what he said on the issue. But why does everybody feel like, more so than any other player I've heard of in the game, when talking about Latrell, why does everybody have to qualify everything they say about him? Why does everybody have to say, we're huge fans of his, we're a big fan, No, you don't have to pretend to be a fan of his. I'm not a fan of his anymore. I'm not a fan of players who come out and drop a bunch of F-bombs on TV or on radio when there are kids watching it. I'm not a fan of players who do that. I'm not going to pretend to be a fan of his anymore. Like everybody seems to have to pretend they are and qualify everything they say about it.
It's just bizarre. I don't understand. Like Greg Inglis, they always compare him to Greg Inglis, who was a great spokesman for the game as well. He had an issue where his girlfriend had bruised face and they had domestic violence things and stuff and ended up being plastic surgery that she'd had. But again, he got in trouble for it. Every single time, everyone gets in trouble for it except for Latrell Mitchell, who gets in trouble for nothing. Nothing.
And it's no wonder he keeps doing it because Andrew Abdo and Peter V'landys are too gutless to do anything about it. So it's no wonder this will just continue to happen because he knows he can get away with it. He knows they're too scared to sanction him.
Going on forever. Did he ever get sanctioned by the NRL for that whole thing with the guns where he was illegally playing with guns? Did he ever get sanctioned? I don't think so. I don't remember him ever get sanctioned. It's just becoming more and more evident because it's becoming more and more common. As they treat him with kid gloves and don't do anything to him, he just does more and more stuff. Like every week now, like since last year, it's been like all the time. But it's we had Spencer Lanier, and now this week we have F-bombs, and then what's going to happen next week? And if I was the club, the Rabbitohs club, I would be taking him to task because it was like, dude, you just got smashed. You're 2-0 to start the season. You've just gone on the radio acting all happy like you scored your 100th try, dropped a bunch of F-bombs, got your interview dumped, and said, I don't care.
And who does that? After their team gets well beaten in a game, 28-18 flatters them. It was more like he scored that try in the last minute. The game was done and dusted. That scoreline flattered them at the end. Who does that after their team gets beaten, comes out and says, I'm so happy I scored my 100th try? No, nobody does that. You don't even mention you scored your 100th try, especially if your team gets beaten. You let others bring that up. You don't mention it yourself.
Yeah, you can harken back to when Andrew Johns became the highest point scorer in the game's history or whatever it was. I think he was against Parramatta, and they got smashed like 30-2 or something like that, and he kicked the penalty goal to go over and become the top point scorer or whatever it was, right? He wouldn't come out of his dressing room to collect the trophy. It was a trophy ball, the game ball in a trophy case. He wouldn't come out because that's the kind of behaviour you would expect. Like, he wasn't happy with the fact that he's just got smashed. Even though he achieved something amazing in the game. 100 tries is a good achievement. It's a benchmark achievement. It's not a massive achievement. It doesn't even put him on the top 100 try scorers of all time, I believe. It's a massive achievement. But what he should be doing is going, crap, guys, we're 2-0 to start the season. We've won 4 games in our last 15 games since last year. We need to be looking at what we're going to do. And instead he's sitting there just doing another Latrell Mitchell thing and nobody's doing anything about it. Seriously, for me, the club, I can't believe the club does. I can't believe the NRL doesn't do anything, but I really, really can't believe the club doesn't do anything. Why is the club not going to the coach and saying, you're 2-0, you're getting your ass kicked, Latrell's out there doing whatever he wants. Sam Burgess was right. Why isn't the club doing that?
Sam Burgess was right. We know that now. That's the other point to make, is that we're only 2 rounds into the season. We've already had him comment on a judiciary matter when he shouldn't have. And we've had him drop these F-bombs after a game. After 2 rounds. We're 2 rounds in. The season goes for 27 rounds. By round 27, what is his rap sheet going to look like by round 27 if it already looks like that after round 2?
Yeah, he's really beyond ridiculous. I cannot believe it. I just can't believe that this continues to go on, and it does continue to go on. It's beyond ridiculous. And yeah, like I said, I want to get some opinions from rugby league players. I see all of these ex-players on the internet really justifying his behaviour for specifically this one. But since 2005, when the Tigers, it's the most famous one. I think it was Bryce Gibbs or something. Walking around the field after the Tigers won the final, just dropping F-bombs and C-bombs and stuff. But that was fully emotionally charged, and the NRL realised at that stage, oh my God, we need to do something. And they put in place systems. All the players have media training and stuff like that. They know they're not allowed to do this stuff. And he just did it. And you can say all you want about it was the heat of the moment. But he said, yeah, I know I'm doing wrong. I just don't care. I just don't care. He just doesn't care. And when somebody gets to that point where they just don't care about anything, they'll just keep doing whatever they want until you pull them into line. It's up to the club and it's up to the NRL to tell him, dude, pull your head in, concentrate on football. And we got, more about Rabbitohs and a lot of comments on him. So that's honestly, guys, it's just our opinion. I think we both agree Latrell Mitchell needs basically a smack upside of the head from the NRL and the Rabbitohs to pull him into line, and it's beyond ridiculous the special treatment he's getting.
Yeah, too many excuses are made for him, and we're all getting sick of it.
Yeah, exactly.